Well, thank you, AJ, for being here today. AJ's going to be sharing with us some information about the bookstore and all the services that they provide and some of the processes that, you know, we need to follow when ordering books. There's a timeline. So thank you, AJ.
Yeah, just let me get my video sorted here. It should come on. Okay. Okay, I see, you know, Gemma and Mark, I see that you're not new to what we provide here at the bookstore, but as you can tell, with COVID-19 hit, we had to do a few adjustments to book orders, you know, with a lot more of the courses going online. There was a lot more interest in instructors as far as moving to digital. And when I say digital, we have our IDAP program, which what we do is we work with the publishers to come up with the lowest, most cost-effective purchase for students. And that is delivered digitally through our Interactive Digital Access Program, or IDAP. Along with that, we have textbooks that we can still order. I know we had for Gemma's class, we had ordered some of those. I think Mark was teaching a couple culinary courses, so we brought in physical books as well. Along with actual book purchases, we work with 2 used wholesale vendors, and once we receive adoptions from instructors, we compile a list of physical books and we send it off to those 2 wholesale publishers, and they look over the list, and based off those lists, they determine which books they would allow us to rent, and that will become another cheaper option for students. You know, a lot of times there's some confusion. The instructors think that, oh, just because I submit an order, I want to make it rentable. You know, we would love for it to be the case. However, it's dictated between those 2 wholesale publishers, because at the end of the semester, we are sending all of these books back to these publishers. And then they hope, you know, by allowing the rent, they want that back because they want to turn around and resell those books. So list is basically in the hands of those publishers as far as what they will allow to rent to students. So going back to the IDAP program, shortly we'll be sending out the textbook adoptions / IDAP courses for the spring 2021 semester. We're working closely with now Kahele and Laura because we want to increase our communication with the IDAP program. So if that's something that instructors are willing to try out, we ask that they let us know immediately because we need to get it up a list to Laura and Kahele so that they can get it up on the class availability website, because I believe registration starts in a couple weeks. So they want to have students aware of these IDAP courses so that they know, along with these cheaper, more cost-effective digital, there's an IDAP charge that will actually go onto their MyUH account. So we want to make sure that students are aware, and then we work closely with the instructors so that, you know, they can put this information into their syllabi to inform students, you know, this is the lowest cost-effective purchase for you. However, please note that they'll get a charge on your MyUH account to access your ebook or your course materials, such as My Writing Lab. You know, the ICS has the My IT Lab that the instructors use to assign homework assignments and whatnot. So that's basically, you know, what we sell as far as the books, digital, our IDAP program, physical textbook rentals. But we also have, well, it's decreased quite a bit since COVID hit, but we also, you know, offer snacks, drinks for students, faculty, and staff. You know, we're having to assess the amount of stuff that we bring back in, with majority of courses being online, we don't have foot traffic as much anymore. So snacks are limited as we speak, but hopefully as we start to progress and open up a little bit more, we'll bring back in the snack options, more selection of the drinks. We do have, with a lot of it going online, we've got a lot of our products, not necessarily textbooks, but merchandise, whether it be a sweatshirt, hydro flasks, pens, pencils. It's available on our website now. So if you have a chance, you can visit our website and see all the different products that we have. And, if you want to place an order, students, faculty, staff, we have somebody from Canada now that just placed an order, and we're shipping a couple sweatshirts out to Canada, because they can't travel here. So the next best thing is have it shipped to them. So, that's basically the services that we provide here. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question about that order, that online order. So if you order it
Yes.
online, can you pick it up at your store for free? Like no shipping?
Yes, we do have that option. When we rolled out the textbook orders for the start of the fall semester, that was an option for students to select. We had people take advantage of it because they didn't want to pay the shipping. But some people that, didn't want to increase exposure, we shipped it out to them. We did run a flat rate shipping promo to any Hawaii-based student. We had a flat rate shipping charge that to help them out with the shipping. Right now, we're still receiving orders, and we had a few that came in that's pick up in store. We had a couple that shipping out, because I think we have some culinary classes just started up, so we're processing those. But we anticipate having the same format for the spring semester, so we'll probably be running the same shipping promo that we did this last semester.
That's great, AJ. And go ahead, Mark.
Hey, AJ, first of all, thank you, for everything. You've been great, you and Tyler, in getting everything that we need. I have a quick question because I heard you talk about it a little bit ago, and I'm sorry, I'm sort of on my phone because I want to make sure I listened in, so I might have missed it. But the ebooks, the electronic books, has that been more popular?
It depends on the course that digital is being offered, because I mentioned about the used books and the rentals. With the digital, if it's not part of the IDAP program, we have a digital content provider that we utilize they're called Vital Source.
Yep.
And they have access. We send them the same list that we send our used book vendors, and they come back and say, they have the rights to distribute a digital copy of whatever the textbook may be. I think we had a couple for culinary, actually.
Yep.
And students will be able to select that option off of our website and have access to the digital book. They'll be emailed instructions and a code to access their content.
Cool. And then if they get the ebook, so I'm teaching purchasing, and I sort of picked it up last minute, but I'm teaching that, and the hard copy book isn't there, but they have the e. Is it okay if they're allowed to print it? Correct? They're allowed to print pages, like to do formulas and stuff. Is that permitted, or should they not be doing that?
It depends. I believe the standard is like 10% of the book.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. But we don't know if there's a disclaimer with each digital copy, if it allows to print a certain amount before it restricts printing.
Got it. Okay, cool. I'll talk to you a little bit more about it, but thank you. It's been a big help to them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure. Shoot me an email, or if you want to set up another Zoom call, I can do that as well.
Excellent. Thanks.
You're welcome.
So, AJ, I have a side question about your bookstore. I noticed that the Manoa store has a lot of new apparel. Do you have those latest styles as well?
You have a specific style you're looking at?
No, I was just looking
'Cause we
over
did
all.
receive. I mean, we did receive new styles over the summer, and we're slowly getting all of those up onto our website. So I know there's a certain women's tank top that has like some kind of tie-up back. Honestly, I don't understand that style, but that apparently is one of the newer styles.
Uh-huh.
We got a couple new hoodies.
Joyce?
No, that wasn't the one.
Okay. I mean, looking out at my sales floor, we still have shirts. We got a new style of polo, which I'm actually have one of them on. And we got a few more basic Maui College t-shirts in, because the t-shirts are usually the more popular among students rather than the $50 to $70 Under Armour polos.
Right. Well, we always enjoy going to your store and taking a look at everything that's new and all the new stuff that you're getting. So thank you for that, as well as for being here today to, let us know what's happening.
Yeah, we're still open 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And, we have half the store sectioned off just to limit the amount of touching of the products, but we're open if people want to see something. We're more than willing to grab it, show it to the person, and can go from there.
Awesome. No other questions, right? If not, thanks so much, AJ. I really appreciate you and the
Thank you.
information.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I see
Okay, I'm going to be
that.
jumping off the call now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
So Jeff is here. Jeff Marzluft is our librarian from the library, and he's so awesome. He every year teaches us something new that the library has to offer, and they have so many innovative kinds of services now that we're always so pleased to hear from him. So I need your co-host, Jeff, in case you have some slides to share.
All right, no pressure. I now have to come up with something we've innovated. Uh-oh.
Well, the
Hi.
last thing I just saw, Jeff, which was really interesting, was somebody for OER, one of your librarians created a page with all kinds of resources, like videos and all her stuff there. And that was her OER. Remember? That was, were you at that meeting, the OER meeting? And I thought that was such a service, to help an instructor create a page like that with all of their resources in one place.
I'm not sure what you mean. I mean OER resources or resources for their class?
Well, they just took a bunch of different resources and called it their OER,
Yeah.
resources. Yeah.
Sure.
It was all in one place. That was Melissa Kirkendall I'm talking about. And I think Siobhan put that together for her. But I know you do the same thing as well. So anyway, please just tell us what you got.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, I wasn't sure how many people were going to be here. Hi, Mark. Hi. Is it Gemma or Gemma?
It's Gemma.
It's Gemma. That's what I thought. I just didn't want to get it wrong. And hi, Diane. You're new faculty this year, Diane?
Oh yeah, sure
You're
am.
good. Yeah,
Starting
they finally gave you that contract.
They finally hired me.
Finally hired you full time at last.
And we have a few more people signed up, like 3 more people, but they're not here right now, so they might be joining us later. I'm not sure. Okay.
I mean, I have a long involved PowerPoint that I will not bore you with, but the gist of it is really how the library has kind of shifted what we how we look at information and how we're teaching students that stuff. And because I didn't know what area you guys would be from, that would be just really one of the things I like to show is that how oftentimes if you don't teach English 100, you don't know what the students are learning in English 100. And then I can show you what I show them in English 100 for doing research and research projects, because I know that that can be helpful, because oftentimes people assume students are learning certain things in another class that they're not, or to just let you know the foundation and what students may or may not have heard. So I'll go through that very quickly. I think it's kind of the higher level librarian stuff, which is why I like it. So let me share it and you'll see what I'm talking about. Hold on. Let me do this. Just give me a second. It's always fun figuring out all the different share screen things that I have to figure out. Okay, is this it right here? Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
good. Somewhere I have it here. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. All right. So this is just talking about, how the library thinks about our role and what we teach students about information and about, our kind of place sometimes in the business we're in, which is educating students, right? That's usually how I put it. So one of the ways that we look at it is when we look at, how do libraries contribute to student success? There's really two ways. One of them we are very limited at this point, which is the study spaces. And this just gets to the idea that we know in the research, and it's cited down here, which lists this because librarians love to put things like this together, that we know students are more successful when they gather outside of class. We know that they're more successful when they visit the library early. We know that they're more successful when they receive foundational skills, and we know they're more successful when they receive library instruction, which all makes sense, right? If you have never used a library before, been required to, or it's been 20 years since you've returned to school and libraries are totally different, learning how to do that, you're automatically going to be, you're in a better position to be successful than if you don't, right? So it makes perfect sense. It's just, right, we'd like to measure these things, right? It's all about measuring stuff now. So people way smarter than me who are librarians know how this all works, and so they devise ways that libraries can measure our impact, because that's right, we don't do e-cafe. We can't show that somehow a students come to the library for a lot of the semester to just have a nice cold place to study because their house is super hot, that's going to contribute to their success. But anecdotally, we all know, having a comfortable place to do your work is going to contribute to your student success, right? So capturing that is hard. So one of the ways that we do that with library spaces, unfortunately, we do not have study rooms anymore available for students to come in group study. We had to shut that down, and we do not offer tables where tutoring tables and things like that where students can work together or discuss things. But what we have maintained is we still do have silent library places for students that you can encourage your students to come. The library is open for this service from 10 to 2. If they needed something extra or needed help beyond those hours or whatever, they can always, we're very friendly and comfortable here with the students, so they can contact me directly if they need something outside of service hours, especially, well, for both of your disciplines, you may have students doing non-traditional times, or they have other jobs, so it's hard for them to come in at this time. But if they needed something, just have them reach out to the library. We can accommodate them. It's easiest for me because I'm here every day. I'm in the building, and the other librarians are not. Ellen and Siobhan are not here in the building every day. I am for the most part. So what do we still have? We still have the areas where students can find a quiet place to study, and we still have places where we do have computer labs and graphic design stations and some of that software needs that students sometimes have. And it may be for your class, it may not be. They may say they're struggling in something else. So send them, if it is like that, use the academic support services available, whether it's us or TLC, or those types of things. All right. So what are the other ways that we do? So what we call information literacy, which you may know of here, one of the things that is for new faculty is, interestingly enough, the library is not responsible for information literacy on our campus. It's a CASLO, so it's actually a campus-wide learning objective. That's and in the past, from what I understand, we've served on that committee or serve as experts in information literacy, but as far as a responsibility, it's doesn't necessarily fall just to the library. And it might, or you might think of it that way, but that makes it very difficult for us to measure if it's a campus-wide issue. How do you measure that, they came to the library, one student in English 100 they had a 45-minute crash course session, and somehow like now they've achieved the CASLO. Like I don't know how to measure that. And so we're working on, I know Christine has been re-examining how we measure CASLOs, and I've actually been working with the nursing department to structure what they do in their program to achieve information literacy, because nursing is very easy, but both of your programs are somewhat, if they're structured that way, because right, in nursing, we know that, the nursing cohort comes on, they all take 210 and they all take 220 and then they all take 230, and they're very sequential. So it was easy for me, and then, this is still an ongoing process because it takes a while, but knowing nursing, they are wanting to move up to get a bachelor's of nursing. So looking at what those standards are, and within their discipline and their accreditation, and this may be true of both of yours, they have information literacy standards or objectives. And so looking at those and then looking at what I'll show you later, and trying to come up with a plan within the program is really how to do it, is what works best, or the best way I can figure it out without having a set course or a graduation requirement that all students have to do. And how did this work? So basically it works with kind of scaffolding skills, just like in a classroom, like you do in your own classroom and teaching, but doing it, so maybe in 210, the librarian might meet with the students twice. And the first time we talk about, how to analyze a journal article, right? From a nursing point of view. What's an abstract? How do you read a references page? Things like that, which is a valuable skill that is the literacy, right? They can take that anywhere they go along. How do you read a scientific article? That will be beneficial in all of their classes. And then helping to design assignments around that. And then when they're in 211, which they take at the same time, but so then we can work on maybe finding an article, and what is that skill? How do you find it? But then knowing that the students have already learned how to analyze the article, we don't have to cover that then. And the faculty member can also be confident, right? As confident as they can be, knowing that their students, this is how we always used to put it where I used to work, we're supposed to have learned this thing. So we'll just assume that they were supposed to have learned this, so we're not going to necessarily go back and cover it. But in this way, what you end up doing, and this is the idea for nursing, and I think it will translate to other programs. We'll figure out other ways. But for nursing, what it then does is it guarantees that students who go through the nursing program we will be able to say they have, gone to 8 instructional library sessions. In those 8 sessions, these are the skills they have learned and been assessed in, because then the assessment comes with the assignment that's tied right to the information literacy SLO, which may or may not be written out. Does that, I think that makes sense. It does to me, but that's why I'm still working on it. So that might be something that will end up, we could translate to your program, Gemma, right? That might work well for students who we know are on a set course, that maybe we visit and we build upon the skills that they've learned. Because
I can definitely imagine that working.
Yeah, right. And especially because if it works out well, because if you have English 100 as a requirement, you may not know what they do in English 100, but I do, right? And so I do know what happens in English 100. I do know what the assignments are, and translating that up and moving with what assignments, what they may do. Something basic with that is knowing that I just was working in history, and the history assignment has the students doing stuff in Chicago style, which you may not know is the historian's preferred citation method. But I had to kind of tell the instructor, like, just so you know, the students don't even know what that is. So just putting that on the assignment is going to stress them out and may create, I always look at this way, this is how I'm very practical, right? I only have 100 Jeff points to give you, right, for this assignment. Do you want me to waste 10 of my Jeff points on trying to figure out what Chicago style is? Or would you rather I use those finding a better article, writing, reviewing and proofreading my paper, whatever that is. And so I don't know what she ended up doing, if she changed it, but I think just being aware of those types of things, that you might think students have this information, but they may not, right? So just that kind of stuff. All right, so that's kind of how we're doing it. So that doesn't mean that we don't do any of these 5 things that are listed here, right? Right, which are, related specifically to your course. The standalone workshops are more now at this point for faculty on copyright and some other stuff like that. Building online tutorials. We still do our one-to-one research help. We will make Zoom meetings with students and meet with them for an hour one-on-one to go over stuff, sharing screens and doing that. That can get really intense and fun for me and fun for the students, because that they can really learn a lot one-on-one. So we encourage that. Okay, so then what do we do in Information Literacy 101, right? So this is just the kind of this higher level stuff. So this is how we usually think of it. This is how, if you've seen things in your accreditation or, right, that this is what a student, an individual should be able to do these things, right? Determine what they need information, access it. Is it what they need? How do I use it in my paper or project, right? Am I using the right things in my paper or project, and am I giving it good citations, right? Hold on, you know what I need? I found this little button. Do you know of this? Do you guys know this? In the Zoom, you can make a laser pointer, so you're not just doing the arrow. It's very, very fancy.
How do you do that?
You do it in the extra in the annotate button on your across the bottom, and then there's all these tools that you may or may not know that you can whiteboard and write on the screen and do all kinds of fun stuff. See, these are the kind of things that the library offers, right, to everybody. So when you get down to just with library, like what does information literacy mean? What are we trying to teach students, right? And you see this in your own students, whether they're 19 or 59, right? They're trying to kind of get around using these skills to find the right information, right? And I use that example because, right, we have 19-year-olds who know everything, or everybody thinks they do, right? And then you may have other people who have not spent, their whole lives on computers, so they're not as comfortable. And that is why in 2016, the ACRL, that's my professional group, the Association of College and Research Libraries, they took away the standards. They said standards are stupid, right? They don't work, because they don't work for everybody, because everyone's at a different level. So what can we replace them with? Because standards you can measure, right? And that's nice. You know whether a student can find an article or not. We can watch them, we can test them. But it doesn't really follow how librarians think about information. And so what they did was they said, okay, we're going to change how we think about it, and we're actually going to talk about a framework. And so what is the framework? And the framework are these 6 structural points. And this is the part I find interesting. And this is how, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe it's why I'm a nerd. But here's what here's what I tell students and faculty about this stuff. Is I say, it's good to know people are actually thinking about what kind of information, like how information is. What is it? What is out there? How do we think about it? Because we hear we're in an information society. We hear all of this stuff, but no one's really thinking about it in that way. So this is how librarians think about it. So we look at things like authority is constructed and contextual. So what does that mean? So that might mean the easy way would that be, in the old context, you would have said, well, can you cite a tweet? Well, no, it's not really a good source of information, so we don't really talk about citing tweets. Now, We know that our president loves to tweet, right? And we know that when he tweets, it might be something you would want to cite, because the tweeting and Twitter, its authority is constructed and it's contextual by who's tweeting, right? And that's how we should be thinking about that, not a set of rules. Don't tweet. .org is good. .gov is good. .com is bad, right? And a lot of students come in with that attitude, and that's not necessarily true, right? And we want to look at it differently. We want to look at information creation is a process, and we think of that as it's not something that someone goes 0 to 100. It changes over time. Different things are added to it. Different things are taken away. And students understand this, or they start to see it when they may have an assignment where don't use anything over 5 years old, right? And so that's because the process of getting to that point, right? It's been a whole long process. And then we get to the next, information as value. We know that all the time, whether you have to buy something, right? Or we also know if some people have information and other people don't have information, we call that, right, an information gap. And we know that there's a lot of value in that equality and that inequities, right? And, you know, we deal with this, and I talk with this with the nursing students. When you think about, if you are trying to become a nurse and you're in a rural village in Africa, right, that may not have a stable internet connection, but all the information and all the current knowledge coming out in nursing is only available in that way, or you have to pay for it. Are they at an advantage? They definitely know that information has value, right? They learn that lesson right away, right? If you don't have access to it. So, and it also has other kinds of value too, as we know in bringing some of our indigenous knowledge too. We know that information has value by who has access to it, right? You may have to have a certain level, right, of cultural knowledge to have access to information, right? And that gives it a higher value as well. So we talk about those things so that we can bring indigenous values and that kind of stuff in there to talk about it. So research is inquiry, that research isn't just transactional, that it takes questioning. You should question your sources, right? Where did they get this information? How do they know this information, right? What questions am I asking of the text? What is the text asking of me, right? It's a process, right? And then scholarship is conversation. And we see that, right, as over time, this is where footnotes come in, and using those properly and giving citations. That we know that scholarship is something in the Western, right, culture. We value looking at the references page, seeing how ideas have changed, and understanding for students that they are a part of that conversation, that whether they like it or not, they're in the academic world. And when they produce a paper, or they do a project, or they do anything that's research-based, or they do anything for their scholar pursuits, they are involved in the conversation, right? And that's why they have to follow certain rules. That may be why you have to use certain conventions, things like that. And then searching is strategic exploration. And this is just to get around that idea that, right, when you search for something, you're doing more than just searching. We get spoiled with Google because we use Google. We're like, I'm searching for information, but you're searching to find out, like, how much do those shoes cost, right? Or when's the movie playing? Or what's the lyrics to that song? And really what's happening, you're searching for a piece of information, but it turns into an exploration. And we know that, right, by an hour and a half later, where you've now analyzed every single different running shoe there is available in your size. And right, you know that, and you have 74 tabs open across the top of your computer, and you can't remember where you started, right? That as a framework for information, how it works is that it's not usually one transaction, it branches out. So these are kind of the ways that we think of information for students and trying to teach this within this framework. And this is the long sentence that drove every librarian mad in 2016, because when you read it, what it says is it's got flexible options, and there's no, rather than a set of standards or any prescriptive enumeration of skill. Well, how do we enumerate our skills then? Right? I mean, that's like asking, how do you tell math teachers to teach math, but then you can't test them on it? whether they learned it or not. Meh. Right? But that's what it is trying to get this understanding that information and research is part of this bigger whole, right? And so that doesn't mean that there aren't standards. What I should say with this, we do have objectives, and what they've done is they say, right, a beginning researcher would try to approach it like this, an intermediate one, and then an expert skilled one, right? And within each of those frameworks, we do it, right? We're librarians. We would love to write, right? We love to talk about our how important we are in our place in the world. So that's okay, because we see stats like this, right? 22% of community college students enter school prepared for college level research. That's a national poll from 2017. So you would know our students here on Maui and Hawaii, would they be higher or less than that? I don't know, right? It's all over the place because we know our students come from all over, right? They're from everywhere, right? So how do we get our students to do those things? How do we get them to understand all of these aspects, right? Which go back to the standards that we talk about, right? And so that's when we talk in the library is getting students research ready. And that is often, if I come to your class or when I go to English 100 classes, that is all I can promise, right? To the instructor. And the way I think of this, and I had it explained to me once, because we used to try to do what we used to call library school in an hour, where I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about the library in an hour. And I was at a seminar, we were talking about it, and somebody said, no other discipline in a school does that. No one in math says, I have to teach them these 7 concepts that they need to know in 1 hour. Right? You chunk it out. You think of, I need to teach them maybe 1 or 2 they can take away. And it's probably 1 concept that they can grasp in this session. And so in the library world, we said, okay, we're crushing our students with information overload. So what does getting research ready mean? And for our students, what I have them do is that there's a library, right? That's really it, that there's a place you can go to get help, that you have partners in your education as part of academic support. I tell students, I say, I speak faculty, right? But I'll never grade you. Right? So I speak faculty, but I'm on your team kind of, right? So I'm the bartender of campus. You can tell me anything about any instructor. I won't share it with anybody. I've heard them all from all the different instructors, right? I know who makes good assignments and who doesn't, right? That's, but I use that to help students because I learn what is, what will be important and what won't be. And I also talk with you guys and I understand, right? And you share with me your assignments. You share with me with what you're trying to get out. I'm on the curriculum committee. I see the SLOs for the classes, so I can then help students with that. And that's really the best, I shouldn't say the best, that is a great objective, an achievable objective for a 45-minute introduction to the library class is, here's all this great information that none of you are going to look at and it's going to give you a headache because it's overwhelming, but just know that I'm here and you can contact someone in the library to help walk you through this, or you can do it on your own, right? If you're self-directed learners, right? We try to do that. Right? So this is what we're trying to do. Information landscape, right? Academic expectations of college level research. That is a basic something I bring to the students, right? And then we give them an introduction to the research resources, right? And then that's it. And I'll show you, are there any questions? It's different than the library you may have remembered. I don't know.
It's really different. And so it's really awesome that you're sharing all this because we wouldn't have thought of it,
No, that's why I kind of like to share it. Like I said, it's kind of nerding out, library style, but it also, like I said, I think it's important for others to know that people are critically thinking about how information is created, right? Where does it come from and who and how authority works that way, right? I mean, we see that all the time now with fake news. We see that all the time with our filter bubbles, right? Oh, Trump said it. It can't be true, right? It must be a lie. But you know, I saw it on MSNBC. I know it's true, right? Well, where's that authority coming from, right? And where are you granting? It's an interesting. I think it is too. But I will show you guys just for in general. This is the library webpage. It always will be this URL, maui.hawaii.edu/library. We got a great one, right? Not every campus is as lucky as us. And what you'll see is we've had to really re-gear our what we do. And I will share this. This is kind of might be too inside baseball too a little bit. And I don't know if Ellen would share this. Ellen's the head librarian with me, with you, whether she would share my feelings about this topic. But what's really been, what the COVID-19 has shown me and what this situation has is how strong of a brand the library was in person. How much our building was a part of our identity and how much it was a part of what we do on campus. And so in this time, it's really been a paradigm shift for me to try to think of what the values that we bring that aren't tied to the building. And you saw, I mean, on that slide, I had to be like, study spaces, we know study space. I mean, on those first things, it was like, we know coming to the library is important. We know meeting up with people outside of classes. All of these things are all about the space. And now that's all gone. And we did such a great job with all of those that just like if you have had to do in your world, we've had to readjust to be like, oh no, what are we gonna do? Right? How can we redo this? And that's constantly going on. I'm constantly reevaluating things and how I do things and trying to get away from the building, which also makes me be like, wow, you really love library buildings, don't you, Jeffrey? Right? And that's probably why I am a librarian, because I always had great experiences in all the ones I went to growing up and then in college and grad school. So in any event, here's the homepage. So you can see, right, you can visit around on here. We're not, we're never going to ask you for any money. We're not going to charge you anything. We're not going to ask for your credit card or your social security number, right? We already have all that stuff. We don't need it. So you can see that we do have things here for students. I just show this because if you ever want to know what kind of stuff is available for students, this is what's available for it. And then for faculty, we do have help request forms. We do have library orientation modules that we used to have an in-person scavenger hunt, and now we've had to change it and we have to do a virtual one, which, right, everything else keeps leaping in front of, I need to make this video. That's what happens to librarians all the time. It's like, I need to build this module. And then like 74 other things happen. And then, I'm sure it happens to you as well, right? I need to tape myself, like I could see Mark being like, let me find a video of me doing this thing, or let me make one for the students to see, but it keeps getting put off and put off. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just confessing my own inadequacies. Okay, so let's moving on though, back to the screen. So the other thing I will just show you is for use the library, this is a button, use the library. So we do have, we encourage students to make appointments to come in. That is just because we have limited seats. And if you drive from Pukalani down here to use the library and then you get here and it's all filled, right? We'll try to accommodate you or find you somewhere else you can go, but that's right. That might be a problem. So we do have all of these ways so students can book a seat or service. They simply click on this and then you can see, well, today is over. So we'll go to tomorrow. You can see tomorrow that students can just simply come here and say, okay, I need to use a computer tomorrow from 12 to 1. You submit times, make sure you're going to have your UHID, all this stuff. You hit continue and then, right. And then they can do that right there. And then they can also see which other ones are taken up. So We also have grab and go services if students need a book or want something and they don't want to come into the library. We're trying to discourage browsing, just free browsing in the library. So if they find what they want or they know that they want a specific title, we will pull it for them and make it available for them to grab and go. So they will just leave it out on the table or see them, give them a wave and let them take it. Right? We don't do curbside, right? Sorry, I'm not going to walk all the way out to the parking lot, but we will do it right here. I don't know if someone needed it, I'd be happy to walk it out there. Just tell us what you want. I used to work at a library and my boss used to say, the answer is yes. And then we'll hear your question afterwards. And I really like that attitude. I kind of take that in. The answer is yes. Like, well, can I do this? Well, yes, but now let's figure out how we're going to make that happen. Right. And Gemma, I will say this for both of your classes, I am happy to come in at night. If you do a 7 to 9 class or you want the librarian to come in, I'm happy to do that. I do it for Molokai. I do it for the pharmacology classes. I'll do it for a nursing class here and there. So I'm happy to do that if working around.
I think the biggest thing that I see with my students is finding reliable sources. Mm-hmm. So would that be something you could come in and talk to them about?
Totally. Yep. Yeah, and I might want to talk with you for 10, 15 minutes to see exactly what those problems might be and on which assignment. And then that would help me to figure out, okay, because when I do things like that, as I'm the main instruction librarian, and I come at it, I read your assignment and then I'm like, okay, if I were a student, what would I do? And I go to Google and I type in what I would type in. And then I see what they get. And then I really start from that point because I think that for students, that speaks to them, right? Because that's what we're used to doing, right? So totally, I would love to do that. Those are the kind of things I need to make a module for so that students can do it on their own, which I'll get to in 2024 when everything's changed. So that's one thing. The other thing I will show that I just like to show for contacting the library. These are the ways students can get help from us whenever, and I say whenever we're open, but it's about 9:30 to 4:30 or so, depends on which librarians are here and what they're doing. I know Ellen is she's on the chat today and she has a meeting, so that's why she's not on it. But students can always chat with us here. They can call us directly. They can text with us. They can fill out a form. They can, fill out a form. They can launch their email and email us, right? The other thing, they can book a librarian. This is new. They can just hit here to schedule an appointment, right? Oh, Jeffrey, when is he available? He's available tomorrow at 11:30. They hit continue, right? I ask you, what's your name and your email? What is Zoom? What do you want to be called, right? If you want to tell me about your assignment, you confirm appointment, and then I'll send the student the Zoom meeting, and then I'll meet with them on Zoom, right, directly. And then all the librarians will do that. And then the other one, it might be too late for you guys. I'm not sure, but probably not actually. We do have the tech tutors. Unfortunately, they don't tell us any more information what a tech tutor does. So the tech tutors are actually part of the peer student program, and they are what do they call them? Peer leaders, peer something. But anyway, but they work out of the library and they do the technology stuff. They do those, how do I turn in an assignment in La Lima? The thing doesn't work. Or my teacher said I have to use it in Google Docs, and I've never used Google Docs before. I've only used Word, and can I use those? And how do I? These tech tutors they're fellow students, so they speak student really well. They know, right, how to navigate through La Lima. They know, right? And then they're also trained in customer service and helping people and understand what to go up. So they are a great resource that kind of fly under the radar a little bit for fellow students. And they're good for, they're not going to wipe your hard drive and, reformat your disk and all. They're not going to do that, but they can show a student, how do I chart my data in Excel? Right, that's one of the big things. That's a big. I worked in a library once, and that was a huge knowledge gap for certain students, and I always felt for them. As you picture, it was in a biology class, and they had to graph their data, right? And you figure, I go back to, there's only 100 Jeffrey points that I'm going to use on this assignment. And if I have to spend 15 of those points trying to learn Excel, now I'm only doing 85 points to do the entire project in the paper. And whereas another student doesn't have to do that because they already know how to use Excel. So they don't have to learn this hurdle, right, in order to even complete the assignment. So we try to put up helper things for that, especially with technology, maybe with some of our students who aren't as comfortable or familiar with technology as others might be. So that's what that's for. All right. So that's just in here. All right. I'm almost done. Don't worry. I can talk forever. I love the library. Okay, so then we just have these types of things. You know, encourage your students. They can come and use us as that resource. One other thing for faculty, and I will look, and I don't, depending on what your assignments are, we do divide up. If you saw in that book, A Librarian, we kind of divide out our responsibilities. Mine significant ones are the CTE program, nursing, English, and some of the social sciences and some of that. I work with early childhood and I work with anthropology. So, but what that means is, so for things like this, what we do, and this may have been what you were talking about, Joyce, we will build course guides for your course. Our research in the library world tells us that a course guide, and the finer grain you get it, the better it works for students. So instead of building a chemistry guide, you build a guide for chemistry 120, right? And students are more attracted to that. They feel it's more relevant to their situation. And then you can also drill into what they are actually doing in that course. Now, of course, ours are not all like that, because I happen to know, like, anthropology is a big one I've been working a lot on. And that is because we only teach 2 or 3 of those courses. And I'm going to change the name though, because if you look down at nursing, you'll see there's 1, 2, 3 nursing guides, but they all go to the same guide, right? But I know for that, and the guides are geared for those assignments. So I'll show you what these guides look like. I can show you the English one. So this is the English 100 one. So these are guides. I'm happy to build this for your class. I can for any of that. So because this is English, I will always cover the research process. And this is the big fact that I always like students to understand. It's not a linear process. It's confusing and messy and gray and gross, right? And they're used to what Google has done. One of their thing, why they're multi-billion-dollar company, is they've taken all of that out, right? You search something and it's in your top 3 results. That's all you need to do. Thank you very much, and go, right? And when you're doing it, as we all know, for academic work, it's never works out like that, right? And so you can see, you know, I will cover this stuff, right? And so you can see for students, right, in English 100, it's very generic because their assignments are all over. Librarians, we usually think of finding information going broad to narrow. So we have the links to our products that we pay for in the library, the databases and things like that. So I will go back to our home page here. See, I don't even think, some of them, like this one, I'm embarrassed. I don't even know who's on here. Oh, is it me? Oh yeah, it was me. Okay, good. All right, when was the last time I did it? So this one needs some updating, right? Which I usually will wait because there's a line. So it's until a student goes, I was on your guide and the link didn't work, right? Or, right, I'm going to work with you like, oh, you're coming into my class. Can you come in next Wednesday? I'll be like, sure. Okay, fix the guide right away. And then I have my list of the ones I know get used a lot. So you can see I always go back here, right? Early childhood, I call it iterative, not linear. Similar, right? And then talking a lot about this. And then for here, right, what kinds of things do students might need to know for doing research in your course? So you get this box, right? Hawaii statistics and background data, because students might want to, or they need to know, how many families are there on Maui, right? How many people have kids under 5, right? How many people are, you know, need this or that, right? And so so that would be the kind of thing that's specific just for early childhood, right? For a project that they're doing. And then in here, I think I inherited this guide because this is not my style. So in here, these would be the products that we have, that we use, that the librarians are, that are in the library that we pay for, the databases, right, that students have access to. And that's one of those things. If English 100 isn't a requirement for your course, they may not know what a database is, right? Which is why I have this video right here. What is a database, right? So that they can see. Because it's one kind of like, right, porn, right, pornography. You know it when you see it, but you're right. But I'm not going to really give you a rule for it, because it used to be like, it's a collection of articles that's searchable and indexed. But now it's like, but what about original content? And what about one that has an ebooks in it? And what about one that includes encyclopedias and original content and articles? And so it's kind of all over, right? Okay. So, and then we always include some citation stuff on that, right, and the guides. So Mark, I'm not sure in the culinary world, depending on what assignment students have, that, you know, these may or may not be helpful, but if you are looking for a place outside of La Lima to house stuff for other projects or research, not even research oriented, but I always say, you know, the student objects, whether it's a presentation or a project or a paper, however that is, if you ever were thinking of offering extra credit, it's the kind of thing, right? I know I worked with math department, not here, in another place, but we worked on, she wanted a way for students to get extra credit in math because she had a lot of humanities people in her math course who struggled. And so we devised a assignment where students could do a research on something like the history of zero, right? Where they're doing math concepts, but they're doing it kind of in their comfort zone. But they're, you know, or what was the other one we came up with? The calculus debate. I don't know if you knew that there were two branches of calculus with Newton and maybe Leibniz, I think it was, and they Newton's won out, but there was a big debate. So a history person who loves history might really want to talk about that, but in the process, they're doing math in a way they're understanding it. So if you ever thought of something like that, of having them read a book, I know they used to make, when I was here before, like 15 years ago, one of the classes, they all had to read Kitchen Confidential. That was one of the assignments, right, by Anthony Bourdain, and that was, and then write, like, do like a book report on it or something, right? Things like that.
No,
So
I'm going to reach out to you because I want to just look at the culinary options and share with you what we're doing, even like right now, because of the fact that we're doing a lot of online. Like I'm teaching a purchasing class and we're putting a whole lot of attention into sustainability. And what a cool way in which we can get information to them, whether it's videos or research, where they can be working on these things independently, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
So I'll stay in touch with you. I appreciate that. And I also want to stay in touch with you about the book that I'm working, you know, the textbook, textbook, accent to textbook. So I'll stay in touch.
Okay,
good. One of my goals with the culinary is to develop something a little bit more for them to be able to go to besides just going online on their own. Yeah. You know what I mean? I need them to seek other resources.
I agree, and this is why I like the LibGuides too. Even if sometimes they repeat stuff, it makes students. I don't like using it. Forces students. It doesn't work. It encourages students to go to different places to find what they need, which we all know is a life skill that I watch my kids who are 14 and 12 struggle with. But I always say, unfortunately, you have a librarian for a father, so. Right? Why do you believe that is what they get, right? What's your authority? Why did that person say that, right? And things like that. But we see this all over, right? Learning that you need to go to different information sources. We all know if you really want to know what's happening in the news, you should be watching, you know, Rachel Maddow and Hannity, and probably take the middle, right? Because they're probably both talking about the same thing in different ways, right? And so in any event, happy to work with you on that. Let me just go back. So this is some of the things that we're doing. The research guides are a big part of, it's easy to build. I shouldn't say, depending on how we do it, we can modulate them, meaning we can create, you know, I don't have to rewrite the how to find a book box every single time. I have that stored and I can just throw it in there. It's some technology that we use, that the research guides. The other thing I would just say, if students, especially if they're moving on, this is the other part, if they're going to move on from here, you know, whether it's to a 4-year college on the mainland or graduate school or Manoa or UH West Oahu, that all of those campuses use this system that these LibGuides that, as I show them now, right here, we can look at the anthropology one, right? This style with the tabs across the top with these boxes, they're used at like 6,000 different institutions in the country. Probably 98% of every college uses this LibGuide system. I should have invested when I had the chance, right? And so it's something they'll see again. And as I will tell students, especially in the 200 and 300 level courses, you may not have the librarian come to your class and sit there and say, call me on the phone and I'll walk you through it. They may just say, go to the library and find the research guide for the class, and you're on your own. So that happens a lot. All right. So that's kind of the basics. I was told by the other librarians to emphasize our online stuff, which I think I did, to go over how the library impacts student learning, which I think I did. And then I always like to talk about going to people's classes, helping to support with whether it's assignments or doing that stuff. And I never want to intrude on what is going on in the classroom, but I do have, you know, I've been doing this for over 20 years. And so I've been doing a lot. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of assignments, and I've seen, right. And I have alternative ones that I've helped people develop and use. And it's not necessarily something promoting it, but it's oftentimes, I'm thinking back to oftentimes if I see it, I will ask, you know, what are you trying to get here? You know, what do you want the students to achieve? Right? Because if you want them to learn that there's a difference between scholarly magazines and, right, scholarly journals and regular magazines, then why are you assigning them a 5-page research paper? Because that's not going to teach them that lesson, right? We can come up with a great assignment that does, right? And I'll help you find the right articles and, right, and help create a box and check marks and all that, but that will help achieve it in a I think in a more digestible way for the students, right? Because oftentimes this happens in different subjects. They just assign a research paper because that's what I had to do when I was in college, right? You write research papers. But we're way more deliberate now about our educational processes. And so trying to think that way. All right, that's it. I'm done, Joyce. I talk long enough. You know, I don't even look at the clock. I just talk. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. That was really a wealth of information.
I get excited.
You're gonna have to do it again.
I'll do it again. Someday I'll tape one of these, but then I don't get to interact. I like to look at the different screens and I get to see people's faces and stuff. It's fun. So,
Jeff, I have one last question.
of course.
So I know when I was a student, and I don't know why I haven't thought of this since I've been an instructor, but when I was a student, there used to be books on, like my class would have their book at the library. So if a student couldn't afford it, they could go and check it out. Do you still do that?
No, we do it, but we're not doing it now because of the protocols. So that's putting books on reserve. So once
I couldn't even think of what.
Yeah, once we open up again and we will do that.
Okay.
What I would say is we can work with you figuring out a way to do that. We may use CARES money. I'm not sure. It all depends, right? As everyone's on the buying sprees. There are modules that actually developed by this company that does this. They do a lot of our back end stuff that does library reserves. So that would let us scan the book and then control access in a way that would still be copyright friendly, and then let students have access to it in a way that they could use it. But we don't have that now.
That would be really helpful too. I had a student that it took so long for them to get their book for some reason. And I only had scanned like the first chapter of the book. So
We will scan other ones, and we do have a scanner in the library that students can use. We have a very quick scanner that takes pictures. It's a picture one. So with a foot pedal, so you can click foot pedal, switch it, and just do it over and over again. Which you can also use to put your stuff available for students. So, and I would also say check with me too, like if you have a certain book, because if I can find or purchase the ebook version of that, then we have it available as an ebook and then students can do it. But if it comes from Pearson or one of the textbook publishers, that's why they want to go to all ebooks, because now libraries can't access them and provide them as on reserve. That's my OER push, Joyce.
Thank you.
Right.
So are you
Okay.
involved with OER still, or?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're
So
not.
I'm just a
Okay.
consultant. I'm the librarian. So I don't really, I participate in unofficially. So, and with that, it's kind of nice. I can choose projects I want. Like Mark and I have talked about his book for a while and stuff. So it's like, oh yeah, I want to work on that. So I'll help him out.
Oh,
Not that everybody doesn't get 100%, but there's some things I just can't do anymore. It's not in my primary responsibilities anymore.
oh,
So
I
don't
okay.
wanna-
Yeah, I didn't quite understand what was happening there.
yeah, that's what happened.
Well, thank you so much,
Of
Jeffrey.
course.
It's been really inspiring, actually, all the things that you offer, which is really
Well, that's what we try to do, right?
Thank you.
So
Okay.
we do our best. So, and of course, if there's anything you want us to do or see us doing, like you just asked about reserves, let us know, right? I mean, I'm right here. Yeah, I'm not, as I say to students, I'm not running away from you, right? You can email me, I'm right there, right? There I am. This is actually my office number, which only one person has ever called, because I said no one's ever called me. Not a student. No, I say this to every single class since I've been here. That's my number. You can call me, and no one ever has. And one student did, because he said, I felt sorry that no one's ever called you, so I decided to call you.
That's funny.
So it was funny. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
You guys have a good day.
Thank
Rest
you.
of the day.